Lord God, I thank you so much for who you are, and I thank you that you made us. Lord, I thank you for the tasks that you've given us to do while we're here on the earth. I thank you that you include us in your plan. Lord, we just welcome you into this meeting. Father, I pray that it would be just as a symbol of transparency, Lord, that these guys would feel comfortable to ask anything that they want about Arche Year, and we'll give them all that information so that they can make good choices about how they proceed with their writing and things like that. So Lord, we invite you to just prompt us to ask any questions that will be helpful. We invite you to keep us on track, and we invite you to just touch us and be a part of our conversation. Thank you for this little communion that we get to have about writing tonight. And I thank you, Jesus. Amen. All right, so I want to start by introducing a couple people that are on the call. So Rebecca Olson is our longest running Arche Year facilitator. She is on the call tonight. And so she runs one of those cohorts. She's been doing that for, I think she completed 3 years now, if I'm not mistaken. And so, yeah, this will be 4, Rebecca, is that what you said? 4, okay, awesome. So she'll be moving into a new year. And then Allie Prince is on the call as well. Allie is a graduate of our full-time apprenticeship program here at the company. So as needed, I'm happy to grab them to get their perspectives as well, if that's going to be helpful for us. So welcome everybody to the Arche Year meeting. So this is taking the place tonight of our regular Arche Year support group. So we have an open coaching call once a month specifically for Arche Year students. That's open to everybody. Tonight we're going to use that to get some information out about the Arche Year program and answer all of your questions. So in a nutshell, the Arche Year program is a 10-month course that will guide you to write a complete novel manuscript and also launch an author's platform. When I say author's platform, I'm talking about all the legal pieces that you need, legal and marketing pieces that you need in place to be a well-functioning author that is ready to publish sometime in the future. One of the biggest mistakes that authors make is they write their book and they work so hard to write their book. But they've got it written and they start that publishing process, whether they're querying traditional publishing houses and agents and things like that, or they're going to self-publish, and they roll right up to that publishing process, and then they ask this question, how do I start a platform? Or if they're self-publishing, they suddenly ask this question, how do I market a book? And at that point, you are very late in the process. It makes a lot of sense that you need to start your platform building, you need to start your marketing process and things like that about 2 years before you ever want to see your book in print. And so that's why we combine these two things. There are a lot of programs out there that'll teach you, that guide you on a process to write a book. There are other programs out there that will guide you through like starting a website or how to use social media effectively or how to start an email newsletter, things like that. But we brought it all together into one comprehensive package, so that if you can commit 10 hours per week to this process and follow the guidance, you will have a complete novel manuscript at the end of the program, and you will have an author's platform. So you will be legally set up with the government to do this correctly. You will know what kind of records to keep and things like that. You'll have a website, you'll have social media, you'll have a newsletter. You'll know how to approach the next steps of your publishing. So you are going to have the whole package in 10 months. Literally, it works every single time. Now, we do have people that sign up for Arche Year and then don't do the 10 hours per week. And of course, they don't achieve those outcomes that we just described. But literally, I think this will be the 6th year that we're doing this. I've never seen a student that actually applies the 10 hours per week and doesn't achieve all of those goals that I just established. So the Arche Year program is sort of split into 2 parts. The first part of the program is all about novel writing. So we are going to teach you how to develop an idea from scratch, make a comprehensive plan for that, and then execute that. Put that to work so that you can write a novel that you know works. We use my novel matrix system to do that. So this is a system that I've been using for many, many years. Before I got into this ministry of the company, I worked as a developmental editor. And so these are techniques and concepts that I've used with countless authors over about 15 years of working in the publishing industry. About a year ago, I published a book called The Novel Matrix, which includes all of those concepts. So that's a helpful resource. But through Arche Year, you're also going to have access to a bunch of videos that walk you through that process. So when you combine the videos and the book, I think that you're unstoppable. This novel writing program is a little bit different from other programs. I think one of the major assets is that it provides all of the structure that you need. It provides all the critical components of writing a novel that you need without over prescribing how to do the process. So there are a lot of novel writing methods that just kind of it almost becomes like a paint by number exercise where it's just you sort of fill in the blanks and they tell you, well, you need to have this exactly this many scenes, and at this scene this should happen, and at this scene this should happen. We don't go that far because the data doesn't support that approach. There are certain things that your story needs to do at certain points in order for audiences to understand it and connect with the character. So we teach you those critical elements, but beyond that, we want to leave the box as far open as we can for you to be creative. So when you come into Arche Year, you can have maybe you have an idea for your book already. That's fantastic. We'll take whatever you have, we'll apply it to our system and help you to fill in the gaps and see what you're still missing so that you can develop those pieces before you begin. Or if you're like, I know I want to write a book, but I don't know what book, maybe you have a bunch of ideas, maybe you don't have any idea, that's okay. The process will literally take you from zero, help you develop an idea so that you can write a complete book. So that novel writing intensive portion, that planning portion of the process takes about 4 weeks. We want you to plan the book before you begin so that you know it works. There's this big debate in writing between pantsers and plotters, right? People that write by the seat of their pants and people that meticulously outline. Again, we want you to be kind of in the middle of that. We want you to have enough structure to the story so that you know that the story is going to work, so that you can move forward with confidence that you have the critical pieces there so that when you finish this, yes, it's actually going to be a story that people can read and you're not going to write yourself into a corner anywhere. So we want you to have at least that much structure, but we're not going to over prescribe it and do like a line by line outline or anything like that where we take the fun out of the process. So that 4-week process will guide you through getting those critical elements in place so that then you can write and you can still have fun. You can still let the characters kind of become themselves and surprise you as you go along. You're not in a tight box at that point. So that's the first 4 weeks of the course, that planning process, and then you'll begin writing the book week by week. And that's part of that 10-hour commitment. As you are writing, we move into industry knowledge and platform building. So in the beginning of that process, we want to teach you about the publishing industry. We're going to teach you the major kinds of opportunities that are in the publishing industry and who is the best match for different types of publishing. We teach both traditional publishing and self-publishing. So we're going to put you in a place where you can decide which path is best for you, and you're going to have all the ammunition you need to do either one. I believe that there are good opportunities in both traditional publishing and self-publishing. It really comes down to your personality and what you have available to invest in yourself. And so we walk you through that so that you can make a good decision about how you want to move forward in a way that's going to be most effective for your long-term goals as a writer. After that publishing industry knowledge piece, we move on to legal structure. So we're going to teach you how to set up a business so that you can pay taxes appropriately, not get yourself in trouble, so that you can protect your work when it's appropriate. And you're going to be in a really good place to know that you and have that confidence that everything is set up the way that it should be as you move forward. After that, we move into really the marketing and platform building stuff, where, as I mentioned earlier, we're going to help you build a website. We're going to teach you how to use social media effectively. There are a lot of wrong ways to use social media. I always teach people that social media has some value, but it's limited value. So we need to invest the right amount into social media. So we're going to teach you all about how to do that really well. We're going to help you develop a mailing list, and there's about 5 or 6 other topics that we're going to cover in that marketing portion. And my goal is to teach you not just how to do it, but teach you the principles behind why we do what we do. Because the truth is that, I can teach you how to use Facebook, for instance, today, but 2 years from now, the system could be totally different. All the buttons are going to be in different places. Some of the features might be completely different. So while we do teach you that step-by-step process, more importantly, I want to teach you why we do the things that we do so that you can have good discernment moving forward. You can make good decisions about how you're going to market yourself, where you're going to invest your time moving forward. And then finally, we wrap up the professional development portion by talking about your next steps, talking about things like how to query agents and things of that nature. Again, we want you to be in a great position so that whether you decide to self-publish or traditionally publish, you're making the right choice that's good for you. And you're not just choosing one or the other because it seems easier or there's something intimidating about one side or the other, but you have all the information and you're ready to say, yep, this is what I want to do. I have the tools that I need to do that, and I'm ready to move forward in that. So that's the basis. So again, it's 4 weeks of the novel matrix planning in the beginning, and then you're writing your manuscript over the next 9 months there. While you write, we're putting these other pieces into place. I believe it's 21 classes in the professional development portion of it, where we're teaching you all these things, and you're actually doing them as you go, which is really, really important. So it's not just like gathering theory, but we don't just teach you how to build a website, but you actually build the website. And that way you can come to this meeting or you can go to a cohort and you can ask questions when you run into trouble. But at the end of that 10-month journey, you're going to have all of those pieces in place so that you're actually ready you're already doing it. In fact, like the ball is already rolling and you're ready to move forward into the next steps of your journey into publishing. So that's the long and short of how the program works specifically. And feel free to drop questions in the chat at any time, just as we move through this. So that curriculum that I just outlined is available to all of our premium members on our website. The premium membership right now is $50 per month, and that gives you access to the complete Arche Year course, all those classes that I just described. It also gives you access to everything else. So you're going to have access to, for instance, the Podcast Institute, which will teach you how to launch a podcast. You'll have access to our Introduction to Copy Editing class, which we just launched a month or two ago. Super cool class on how to copy edit. And then we have, 3 or 4 other major classes in there as well. And then we do one-off classes and things. But as a premium member, you're going to have all of Arche Year and everything else that we do, including access to our other coaching groups that we have, most of them once a month. But we have that complete calendar on our website. If you go to writers.company and click on the events tab, you'll see our current list of meetings there. So in addition to the Arche Year meetings, you'll be able to come to all of those meetings as well. So all of that stuff is available online. If you have that premium membership, you already have access to it. You can start anytime you want and jump into that. However, we also have some support available. And the support is really, really critical. In fact, we're making some changes to the way that we do Arche Year this year. And one of the changes is that we bumped up the Arche Year to the premium membership, and we're making these live support sessions available to all Arche Year members. What we found is that people that are part of a cohort, again, have like 100% success rate if they apply the time, and almost all of them do, but some people fall off, of course. But if they apply the time, there's a 100% success rate. People that just get the membership and do the course on their own without any contact with anybody has an extremely small and almost negligible success rate, because 10 months is a long time. 10 months is a long time to be hanging out there by yourself, showing up week after week and doing this stuff. So that the first level is our self-guided program that comes with the membership. But again, you also now have access to monthly support groups, which are this meeting that you're at right now. And at this meeting, we're going to do things like answer all your questions about novel writing, about platform building, about setting things up. So anything that you're encountering in the Arche Year videos, you come to this meeting. I'll lead them personally most months, and I'm going to personally answer all of your questions, guide you through that as we go. So just by getting the $50 a month membership, you're going to have access to this meeting as well as those course videos. Second tier, though, is our supported package. And this is most similar to how we've done Arche Year in the past, where you are going to be assigned to a small group that we call a cohort. So you're going to meet with somewhere between 4 and 12 other writers each week. It's going to be the same group each week. So you're really going to get to know each other, and you're going to have the same professional author guiding you throughout the process. So you really develop deep relationships with the other people in your cohort and with your facilitator who learns your goals and is available to help you. So in those cohorts, you'll meet every other week, and then this monthly meeting will fill in the in-between gap one of those weeks as well. So you're getting almost every week support at that point. But you'll meet with your small group cohort every other week, and in that group, you're going to get personal accountability. So when you join that supported cohort, your facilitator is going to make a personal plan for you with specific dates and objectives. So we're going to take that big Arche Year curriculum and tailor it to whenever you start. We're going to project out and take into account holidays and things like that, and project out, you should be at this point by this date and this point by this date. And every time you meet, they're going to check in with you. They're going to evaluate your progress. They're going to help you troubleshoot. They're going to address frustrations with you. And most importantly, you're going to pray together. And I think that's such a critical component of what the cohorts bring. I think that's such a critical part of why so many people are successful when they do the cohorts, is because we take seriously that writing in itself is a ministry. We believe that God calls people to use the media for his glory. And that doesn't just mean writing like evangelistic things and things like that. But when you are full of the Holy Spirit and you write a book, that book also reflects the Holy Spirit in you. And that's an important thing that we take seriously. So we want to prepare you, yes, with knowledge about writing and planning a novel and knowledge about professional development type stuff, but we also want to make sure that we're taking that spiritual component seriously. And so the cohorts provide that support with one another. It's also very important that you are with other people that are in the same boat. You are led by a professional published author, two of whom are represented in the meeting here tonight. But you are with other writers who are encountering similar obstacles. And so you get that camaraderie, you get that support. Again, people tend to develop pretty good relationships this way, even though it's entirely over Zoom. But also one of the things that happens is very cool is that other people are asking questions you didn't even think to ask, but are really helpful in your journey. And so having that peer support is really, really important. So for that middle level, that supported level, where you join a cohort, you need the $50 a month membership, and then it's $79 a month in addition to that for that support that you get. Again, statistically, what we see with our students is that it is 100% worth it. You become at least 3 times more likely to finish your novel project and meet your goals if you are part of one of those cohorts. So we did rearrange things a little bit to bring that cost down this year. And so we're really excited to just get this information into more people's hands, get more Christian writers with good, healthy information and good, healthy support around them so that you can just go out there and crush what God is calling you to. So that's the middle level. So there's the self-guided, and then we have that supported level. And then we've added an additional level, which we call premium support. And in addition to those weekly meetings, this also includes feedback, which a lot of people have asked for over the years. So not only do you have somebody checking in on you and holding you accountable to your goals and helping you to address any kind of frustrations or things that you need additional support with, but you'll meet one-on-one once a month with your facilitator, with a professional published author who has done what you are doing and knows the ropes of it, has been trained personally by me to do this. You're going to meet with them once a month. And if you'd like to use that, you get 1 hour per month with them. If you'd like to use that to have them read some of your work and get feedback on what you're doing, you're free to use that time that way. And I think that that's going to be a really helpful resource for you. One, for the feedback that you get, but also the confidence. We can't overstate the value of confidence through this process. That's the same reason that we have you plan your novel in the beginning, so that you can move forward with confidence that the work you're putting in is going to pay off at some point. But that feedback can also help with that, just to have somebody kind of looking over your shoulder to see that, yep, you're on the right track, keep doing what you're doing, or can say, hey, before you get too far into this, I see this problem, so keep an eye on that while you continue to draft your manuscript. In addition to your once a month support with that private coach, essentially, you're also going to get 3 consultations with me personally. So same story there. You get 1 hour of my time 3 times, and we can use that however you want. If you want to talk through your novel plan, we can do that. If you want me to read something that you've written, give you feedback on it, we can do that. If you want to talk strategy, you want to talk big picture, these are my goals for my writing, how should I adapt the Arche Year, what should I lean into in this, we can address that. So those 3 hours of my time are completely available to you, however is going to be most effective for you. Finally, in that premium level, you also get a complete developmental edit of your manuscript. And this is a huge asset. So after you've written the manuscript and after you've revised the manuscript, and we'll also provide some support and tools for that as well, then you'll hand that over to the company. We're going to assign that to a professional developmental editor who's going to go through, they're going to evaluate your story structure, they're going to mark up your writing, your syntax, your prose, and things like that, and give you that complete noted manuscript back as well as a developmental editing report that is going to address all the big picture issues that you can improve about the manuscript. So you're going to have that developmental edit. You can then revise the manuscript one more time, and you're going to be in a really good position to move forward at that point. Like, we're literally takes you to the doorstep of publishing, and you're in such an amazing position at that point to either query agents or move forward into the self-publishing process if that's what you prefer. That premium level of support, in addition to the monthly membership, costs $369 per month, and that's a 10-month commitment for both the supported level and that upper premium level. Let me just check the chat really quick and make sure there's no comments coming through. Cool. So again, please drop any comments as we go. As you're moving through Arche Year, there are 3 books that are going to be really, really helpful. The first is The Novel Matrix. This is the book that I published a year ago. And again, this is based on about 15 years of experience working with new authors, primarily in a developmental editing role. So it's all of the story structure stuff that I wish everybody knew before they started. In fact, I have a friend who runs a publishing house, and that's her comment in the reviews here. I wish every author had this information before they queried my publishing company. The Novel Matrix is an absolute game changer. So this book is going to be super helpful. Again, it works in conjunction with the videos that you'll have access to as part of Arche Year. Next, we have the the Novel Matrix workbook. This is just going to guide you through step-by-step implementing the Novel Matrix stuff. So we do provide for free downloads in all of the Arche Year course videos. So if there's something that's referenced in the video, you'll be able to download that for free and use that. However, the workbooks take those worksheets and they add additional content. Many of the worksheets we've blown up and made bigger so you have more space to write and to change your ideas and revise and things like that. But they also include tips throughout that guide you through. My wife, she's working on a novel right now. She was checking out the workbook and she's like, this is amazing because it includes all of the things that you tell me one-on-one, right? Just as we're sitting around, she's talking about her story, and I'm like, and she like finds some bug in her plan that she's making. I'll give her some little hint or some little clue or whatever, and that's the same type of comments that you're going to find in the workbook that are going to help you work out those bugs. And then finally, we have the Arche Year workbook, which includes a bunch of worksheets and things that are going to guide you through the professional development process. So developing, your brand and things like that, all that information is going to be in here. So the first 2 books, the Novel Matrix and the Novel Matrix Workbook, those are both available on Amazon. You can order those at any time. The workbook is only available through the company, so you can order that through the company's website, or you can order all 3 books at once at a special discounted price through the website. So when you start the Arche Year course on the company's website, one of the first screens that you encounter will ask you, do you want these books? And you can order the books there if that's helpful to you. So that's a helpful resource, and if you sign up for one of the cohorts, the supported or the premium plan, we give you all the books for free. So we're going to ship all those books directly to you. You have all the resources that you need to move forward effectively. So one of the things we mentioned in the lead up to this meeting was, we talked about how to make the most out of Arche Year. First, don't wait to start. One of the changes that we made to Arche Year was we used to only start in September. So everybody had to sign up at the same time every year if you wanted to join a cohort. We've restructured the way that we're going to do those small groups. So now you can join anytime that you want, which don't use that as an excuse to like put it off and be like, oh, I'll save up or something. But rather use that as an opportunity to strike while the iron's hot. If you're inspired to do this, I encourage you to get started now. There's this Chinese proverb that I like a lot. It says, the best time to plant a tree was 50 years ago. The second best time is right now. And I think that's really true. Like I mentioned at the beginning, you really want to start your platform building about 2 years before you ever hope to see a book in print. And that's going to make that launch process so much easier. when you go to launch your book. And so the sooner you can begin this process, the better. Takes time to write a book, takes time to build a platform so that you have readers waiting for your book. So start now. Secondly, take advantage of one of those support options. Like at the very least, if you're going to do the self-guided stuff, put the monthly meetings on your calendar and come to them. Even that touch point. Now, I'm not going to do like the same accountability that you would do in your small groups. I'm not going to keep track of your word count like we would do in the small cohorts. But nonetheless, still having that touch point where there's some place you got to show up and you got to look people in the eye and talk about your book. It can make a tremendous amount of difference in the progress that you make. So at least take advantage of those monthly meetings. But those cohorts, again, we've seen such incredible results for people that commit themselves to the process and take advantage of those cohorts. So we changed it this year to make that lower option, the supported option, much more affordable than it was in the past. Last year, I think it was $229 a month, and between the membership and the support, it's $129 this year. So we brought down we've restructured so that we can bring down the price by $100 a month because we want you to have that support. It makes just a world of difference. And then of course, if you want to do the full shebang with the premium support, take advantage of that as well. Really, if you're ready to be a writer for real and you don't want to come to the full-time apprenticeship, because that would be my first piece of advice to you, is come to the full-time apprenticeship where we are in 2 years just crushing it, and you're doing this every day, 40 hours a week, and you're going to make huge progress that way. But if you're not up for that, for whatever reason, then here is the path that I would recommend to you. First of all, do the premium support level with Arche Year. Because once again, that's going to give you the week-to-week support. That's going to give you the personal consultations with your facilitator and with me. And it's going to lead you all the way to the end of that developmental editing process. However, once you finish the 10 months of Arche Year and you've drafted that manuscript, as a member of the company, then you can start coming to our drafting and revising meeting, where once a month we provide the same kind of support, but for people that have done Arche Year, they've finished that training, and they are moving forward in revising that manuscript or drafting a second or a third or a fourth book down the road. So we're answering questions, we're addressing frustrations, we're praying together, things like that. And that group does provide some accountability in the process to, somebody is checking in to make sure that you're doing the things that you said you would do. You can also come to our platform and publishing class. So, once you've completed that Arche Year training, come to that class and we're going to do advanced training on how to release a book, how to continue to build your platform and things like that. Over the next 4 to 6 months here, still nailing it down, we're going to specifically focus on how to release a book in that class. So whenever you end up in that part of the process, there's going to be really good and helpful stuff there that'll continue your education and your training while you complete those revisions and things like that. And at that point, you're going to get your developmental edit back, you're going to make those revisions, and if you've been doing that, then you're going to be in just such a fantastic place to publish. Again, we don't have any prejudice as far as the way that you publish. There are good, as long as you know what you're doing, there are good opportunities in traditional publishing and self-publishing. If you don't know what you're doing, there are lots of scams and bad opportunities in both of those sectors as well. But with some training, with the right information, there are good opportunities in both of those sections. So we want to help you to get into the best possible position for yourself so that you can move forward, so that you can reach people with the story that God has placed on your heart. Let's see a question. Corley asked, what's the deadline to make a decision to join a cohort or not? That's a great question. So now with our new system that we are introducing right now, like literally this is the launch of it right here, there is no deadline. You can join a cohort at any time of year. So again, I encourage you, earlier is better. Use that initial enthusiasm, that initial energy to get plugged in, get with people that can care for you and care for you through that process. But there's no technical deadline, so you can join that cohort at any time that is helpful for you. I guess theoretically you could start self-guided, and if you get frustrated, you could join a cohort, but I'd rather see you join a cohort enthusiastic rather than join a cohort frustrated. I think that you're going to get better results that way. So let's see, and then another question, do you have resources on the revision process post-developmental edit? That's a good question. So, no, not specifically. So, again, Arche Year is going to guide you through manuscript drafting. You're going to have a complete book manuscript at that point. And then after that, you have access to our four-step manuscript revision plan, which is another class that you'll have access to on the website. And you'll also have access to that monthly drafting and revising group where you can get personalized support in that process. The developmental edit after that, so you've gotten your notes back from the editor, you could keep coming to that drafting and revising group and get support and help and insight through that group. But also your developmental editor is going to sit down with you. It's going to spend at least up to an hour with you going over that report and giving you specific instructions on how to move forward. The process that we teach for developmental editing includes next steps. So we don't just like dump a bunch of stuff on you. We typically provide, bullet points of this is the order that you should attack these revisions in and how you should make those changes. So you should have that from your developmental editor at that time. But again, that drafting and revising coaching group is available to you forever. So 2, 3, 4 manuscripts down the road or revising this one in a second or third round, it's available to you at whatever point you need it. Good questions. So any other questions about Arche Year? I'd love to address those now. Please drop those in the chat, or if you'd prefer to speak out loud. Yeah, Karen, go ahead.
I, I'm almost finished with a book. Do you think it would be valuable for me to go on, even though I'm almost finished? I've read your novel Matrix and I've followed it, and so I don't know if I need the whole course. What do you think?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, all of our courses, we tell everybody this, our courses are made for adults. And we don't have any prejudice against teenagers. We do have some teenagers that take our courses and benefit from them. But what I mean by that is we want to put the information in your hands and then we trust you to do with it whatever you feel is most appropriate with it. So, we have a lot of times people will want to do this course or that, but they're like, I want to do this course, but I actually want to revise a manuscript instead of write a new one. Is that okay? And our answer is always absolutely. You're an adult. If you feel that's the best way to apply the information from the course, do that. So we have had several people through the years that are in a similar position as you, Karen, where they maybe they have a finished manuscript or a nearly finished manuscript, but then they use the Arche Year course to keep them accountable to that revision process. But then, of course, the real benefit at that point, in addition to that accountability, is the professional development piece, which is so important. And that professional development is valid if you're going to traditionally publish or self-publish. So, of course, if you self-publish, you need to have customers, you need to have readers that want your book, and that platform, the ways that you've been connecting with people through your website, your mailing list, and things like that, put those readers in place so that when you publish the book, somebody's waiting to read it. But if you're traditionally publishing, one big thing that publishers and agents are looking for is people that know how to hustle. There's a myth that if you traditionally publish, that you just sort of hand over the manuscript and they take it from there, right? They market the book and everything. It's really not how it works. And so agents are specifically looking for people who seem to understand the business side of publishing as well. And yeah, the publisher's going to do all the production work and things like that. But when the book is released, a lot of it is going to fall on the author to actually do the marketing. So if you can demonstrate that you have an audience, that you know how to do that, and you're ready to do that, makes a big difference in your ability to attract an agent or a publisher in the future. Other questions? Anything else that you're curious? And we can deviate from Arche Year as well. If you have questions about, like, if you're comparing this to other courses or offerings that the company offers, please feel free to throw that out. And Coralie says that she works in publishing and can confirm they like authors who are willing to work with us, not expect us to do all the work. Cool. Very, very true. Go ahead, Karen.
I also write children's books. Do you do anything with children's books?
We do not typically do much with children's books. So, the company does offer services. If you wanted like a developmental edit on a children's book or something like that, that is something that we could help you with. But our focus is on long form narrative stuff. So that would include like, adult fiction, YA fiction. It would also include memoirs. But we don't do a lot with children's books. We don't do a lot with nonfiction, like self-help type stuff either. But any kind of memoir, any kind of story that you want to tell in a long form, we're here for that.
Okay, thank you.
So kind of along Karen's question,
Yeah.
not that I'm interested in writing children's novels at this point, but for something like a Stuart Little novel or Charlotte's Web, those kind of books, would that be considered children's fiction or children's books, and you wouldn't cover that kind of thing?
No, we would cover that. That would be
Oh, okay.
appropriate for this program. What I think Karen is referring to, and I could be wrong, so I'm glad that you asked that follow-up question. Could bring clarity. I'm thinking of like children's picture books. 20 pages
Yeah.
with mostly pictures and limited text. We don't do a lot with that. But yeah, if you want to write novels, like anything Magic Treehouse and above, then this is going to be helpful for you.
Well, that's more what I write. I write for three or fourth grader readers or fifth and sixth grade readers.
Okay, yeah, perfect. Then the techniques that we're teaching would all be applicable to what you're doing there.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
you're welcome. Good questions. Any other questions?
So it's 129 a month for the second tier you're saying. I'm just
Yep.
wondering if that's something that you'd be paying monthly or if you have to pay all down the whole 10 months.
Yeah, good question. So you can pay monthly on that. If you want to pay the 10 months upfront, we do offer you a discount on that. So it's 749, so you save about $50 if you want to do that. But no, you're paying monthly for that as you go. And then same with the premium. I believe the one-time cost is 34.99. So you're saving, I don't know, several $100s at that point if you do want to pay it all up front. But yeah, you're welcome to pay that monthly, and that's what most people do.
Okay, so sorry, you said 749 for the total 10 months second tier?
That's correct. Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And if the program takes you longer than 10 months, which for most people it doesn't, as long as you're putting in that 10 hours per week, you should get it done in 10 months, or we even have people that finish it shorter than that. But if you're doing the supported level, you're committing to that 10-month commitment. If you need longer than that, then you can just continue to pay that same monthly rate and continue to attend the same support groups, the same cohort that you've been a part of.
Mm. And on top of, sorry for all
Yeah.
the questions. On top of that, um, what would the times of those meetings look like? I'm in Canada, so sometimes some of the meetings I was involved with the writers company would be a little bit hard to join up with because it'd be a little later for me, or, you
Yeah.
know, how does that look like to be in a cohort where there might be multiple time zones involved?
Yeah, great question. So we try to offer them at as many different times as we can. So right now we have three cohorts that are forming right now. One is, I don't know the days of the week off the top of my head, but one is at 11 a.m. Eastern time, one is at 4 p.m. Eastern time, and one is at 8 p.m. Eastern time. So we try to spread them out so that, yeah, because even people on the West Coast, it's a 3 hour difference, right? So that can be a big deal. So we try to spread them out so that there's some time that either works before or after work or maybe on your lunch hour or something like that. Um, but yeah. And don't worry about the questions. That is precisely what we were here for. So keep them coming if there's any other questions. Allie, if you wouldn't mind, you led a cohort for the first time this year. And again, Allie is a graduate of the company's full-time apprenticeship program. So she spent 2 years with me learning all about the novel matrix and putting this stuff into practice. The Arche Year covers about 10 to 15% of what we cover in the full-time apprenticeship. So she's been doing this over and over again. She's the best-selling author now of Copper Lies that she wrote as part of her apprenticeship now. It's available on Amazon. So, Allie, you led a cohort for the first time last year. Is there anything that you'd like to share about your experience and kind of your expectations for that moving forward?
Yeah. I think the thing that I would just like focus on is how important a cohort is, you know. I got really, really close with the people in my cohort and I miss them so much now that they've all graduated. It's something I didn't necessarily expect. But once they finished the program and we weren't meeting, once a week anymore, it was around the time that we were supposed to meet and I looked around and I was like, oh, where are they? That's so sad. I don't get to see them. So I definitely want to encourage you guys to really consider the cohorts because there's just nothing like getting that support weekly or, every other week.
Cool. Thanks, Allie. Yeah, and I think the company that's one of it's part of the character that God has given us. That's part of the role that He's called us to. We really prioritize in-person stuff, and that's why the biggest thing that we do is our in-person apprenticeship, where people come to Cambridge and we meet every day and we worship and we pray together every single day and we move forward in the same space. And so even on an online level, get that not everybody can come to Cambridge, Ohio, but even online, having those real connections with real people in real time, not just like some message board where you type it out and hope somebody gets back to you later or somebody responds and you kind of know somebody's picture and their name, but like real people that you interact with, I think is so, so important. And Rebecca, same question for you. So Rebecca, again, has been doing this for many years at this point. Rebecca, is there anything that you would like to add to that? Anything from your experience that you think would be helpful?
Yeah, well, two things. One, to reiterate what you said about make sure you set aside 10 hours a week.
Yeah.
Because again, in my experience, if you don't do that, you're self-sabotaging. When I went through the Arche Year, I kept saying, I'm behind, I'm behind. And you said, well, are you tracking your hours? And I went, nope. And as soon as I did, I found out I was not putting in the 10 hours a week. And then I got my word count up and I was able to complete it. So that's reiterating that too. Make sure you get a prayer team.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you start following the path that God has laid on your life, it makes the enemy mad.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that advice, and that's so true. Again, we take it seriously. We don't think, and it's okay. Like we have had people come through Arche Year, and they just want to write maybe like a family story for posterity's sake or whatever, and that's fine. Again, these are programs for adults, so we want you to use it in the way that's going to be most beneficial to your particular goals, and that's fine. But we believe that writing is a real ministry, that the books that you write matter, and so we take that seriously. And apparently, the enemy does as well. And so, like Rebecca said, one of the piece of advice that we give to everybody is get some people supporting you in prayer. Make that a priority for you as you move forward. And of course, we have authority over the enemy, so we're not concerned that he's going to beat you up or anything like that. But sometimes it does take the doing of taking authority over the enemy and making sure that you're prioritizing your prayer life and that community that you have around you as you move forward. So, thanks, Rebecca. All right, well, I'm going to make a last call for questions. Let me check the chat box there one more time, make sure I didn't miss anything. Rebecca did put in the current cohort offerings now in the chat, so you can check that. She looked up the days of the week and stuff, so thank you for that, Rebecca. Of course, if you're listening to this recording will be available for a long time. Those cohorts might not be the same. We'll add more cohorts when those get full, and also the prices, of course, could change over time to some degree as well. So if this is August of 2025 that we are recording this, if you are much beyond that, then double check all that specific information on the website. All right, I don't see any more questions. So in closing, I just want to tell you about a couple of people that have done Arche Year. So we're adding some additional books to the website now. If you go to the writers.company/Arche Year, it'll spit you out on the right page there. You can see a few book covers. We're in the process of reaching out to a few more people to add their book covers. But a few of my favorites from the group, if I'm allowed to have favorites. Kyle Peters was in one of our original Arche Year groups. I think he was in Rebecca's cohort, actually, the second year that we did this. And Kyle Peters is a pastor. He wrote this book, Every Bush of Fire, which is like a conversational devotional. And I think that this is a good example for two reasons. One, it's a really cool book, and I recommend it. I think it has the power to change your walk with God. So check it out on Amazon. But also, it kind of shows the versatility of the system that we teach. So he used the novel matrix method to write a devotional book, essentially. But it's a better book because of the strategy that he employed in the writing. And not only that, but having that structure actually got him to write it. He, like many of you, I'm sure, feel this, like God is calling me to write, but it hasn't happened yet. Or maybe you've written some things or even written a full manuscript, but you just know it's not quite where you want to be with it yet. So maybe it's time to get some support, right? And I think that Kyle, he's just an excellent guy as well. But the way he went through the program and just submitted to it and used it for a different kind of book that God had put on his heart, I think is so, so cool. There are a couple, again, there are some other book covers on the website there, but one that I'm excited about coming out this fall is Snowboard Girl by Shannon Downing. Shannon Downing came through the very first year, so she's been taking her time on her revisions and making sure it's exactly how she wants to do it, what she wants to do. But her book is going to be coming out this fall prior to the Winter Olympics because she is the first woman, no, I'm sorry, she's the first American to ever win an Olympic medal in snowboarding. So back in, I think, Nagano Olympics in the 90s, she was a professional snowboarder, went to the Olympics, won a medal there, was the first American to ever win a medal in that sport. And so her book will be coming out this fall. It's called Snowboard Girl. I think it's going to be, I'm excited about it for the book that it is and because I've been chatting with her for a long time and waiting for it. But also, I just love to see what's going to happen with that when it's done. I believe that God has a call in her life, and she's going to affect lots of young women in particular with her story about being a woman in a male-dominated sport and being a Christian in a very worldly space of professional snowboarding. So excited to see that come out. So keep your eye out for stuff from the company on that book release too. I'm sure that we'll share it. But we want you to have one of those stories. Shannon is cool, and she's a professional snowboarder, and you might not be a professional snowboarder, but nonetheless, that doesn't make your story less qualified or less important. I truly believe if God is calling you to be a writer, it's because there are people that are going to benefit from your story. And we want you to have the tools that are going to take that idea out of your head and out of your heart and actually get it on the page and then give you the tools so that you can actually get it out into the hands of real people, right? Because unfortunately, books do not sell themselves. So we want you to be in a really good spot so that story, that mission that God has given you, you can put that to work. And like I said before, that could be like a testimony or some kind of evangelistic tool, but it could also just be a really cool fantasy book that in some way reflects the Holy Spirit inside of you, a really cool spy thriller that reflects the reality of who God is to you and is going to lead people to consider their world differently than they had before. And we love working with people that want to write kind of classic, clean Christian stuff, but we also, as Karen can attest in the way that she got to our group, we love working with people that want to work outside of that box as well. Something that Christians haven't done a great job of in the media space is reaching outside of the bubble to reach non-Christians with their stories. C.S. Lewis is a powerful example of this. He wrote a story that non-believers read, and it tills the ground for the gospel. It teaches them a concept about what sacrifice is, what atonement is, so that when they hear the gospel, it hits differently. It tills the ground so that those seeds can be planted later on. And in addition to helping people that want to write that clean space Christian literature, we are also willing to work with you if you're trying to figure out where the boundaries are on that. And you want to ask good questions and prayerfully consider how gritty can I go, right? What kind of language is appropriate for this? And we want you to be in that community where you can bounce that off of other people in a prayerful environment and land in a place where you're going to have an effective message that reaches outside of that Christian bubble, share something of the Lord with people who would reject it in the most normal circumstances, but can till the ground for the gospel later on. So wherever you're at in that, that's a whole spectrum, but we'd love to work with you. We'd love to be a part of your process and a part of the book that you'd love to write.
Thank you so much for listening today. Please be sure to subscribe to this podcast wherever you listen and leave us a review. This podcast was produced by Theo Paquette with help from the company. For help with your podcast, visit writers.company. We'd love to give you a hand.